Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into, a really fascinating concept from Japan, Ikigai.
That's right.
It comes from the book IKIGAI, the Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life. The authors, Héctor García and Francesca Morales, were apparently just chatting in a Tokyo bar, and they realized they shared this interest and purpose. It kind of connected back to Viktor Frankl's logotherapy for them, this idea that we humans just need to find meaning.
Yeah, that fundamental drive.
Exactly. And it got us thinking, and maybe you too, is there more to life than just living longer? Is there a deeper why we should be looking for?
Absolutely. And that's really our mission today in this deep dive. We want to pull out some actionable insights from Ikigai, some principles you can maybe bring into your own life.
Inspired by this Japanese wisdom about well-being, resilience, finding joy.
Exactly. All those aspects that contribute to a long and happy life.
Okay, so let's get right into it. One of the first things the book mentions is harahachibu. Sounds intriguing. Is it just a saying?
Well, it is a common phrase in Japan, often said around meals. But it's more than just politeness. It translates roughly to fill your belly to 80%.
80%.
Yeah. It's seen as this piece of ancient wisdom, especially popular with Okinawans, who are famous for their longevity. They traditionally make a point of stopping eating before they feel completely full.
Ah, okay. So it's less about calorie counting and more about listening to your body.
Precisely. The real lesson is tuning in, recognizing that point where you're starting to feel satisfied and just stopping there.
Instead of automatically clearing the plate or grabbing that extra biscuit.
Right. Or those snacks you eat out of habit, not real hunger. The idea is you avoid overloading your digestive system. And interestingly, some think this practice might even help reduce cellular oxidation.
Cellular oxidation, like aging at a cell level.
Kind of. Think of it like not constantly redlining your car's engine. Giving your cells a break from being overworked by digestion might slow down some wear and tear over time.
That makes intuitive sense. We've all felt that horrible stuffed feeling after a big meal.
Exactly.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The book also talks a lot about an active mind, youthful body. It even brings up the old Latin saying mens sana in corpore sano.
A sound mind in a sound body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly relevant. The connection between mental and physical health is, fundamental. Keeping your mind active and crucially adaptable seems to be a huge factor in staying youthful.
Adaptable, okay.
Yeah, a mind that's still curious and learning tends to, encourage a healthier lifestyle overall. It sort of slows down the aging process.
But what happens if we just stick to our routines, if we let our minds get a bit lazy?
Well, just like your muscles weaken without exercise, your brain's connections, the neurons can weaken too without mental stimulation.
Right.
It can affect how quickly you think, how well you react to things. There's an Israeli neuroscientist, Shlomo Brezhnitz, who really emphasizes this need for ongoing mental workouts to keep the brain fit.
And didn't he have an interesting point about why we sometimes resist that, like why we cling to routines?
He did. He pointed out this tension. Our brains actually benefit from new information. It forces them to make new connections, which is good. But we often prefer the comfort of the familiar, especially as we get older. Routines are efficient, they feel easy.
But maybe too easy. Could that be detrimental in the long run?
That's the idea. When you encounter something new, your brain has to work, create new pathways. It's revitalizing. It might feel a bit effortful, maybe even cause a little anxiety at first.
Like learning a new skill or navigating a new place.
Exactly. But pushing through that initial discomfort actually strengthens the brain. The book, Maximum Brain Power, which Brezhnitz co-authored, talks about how learning new things gets easier with practice and also gives your mood and self-esteem a real boost.
So it doesn't have to be like learning quantum physics. Simple things count too.
Oh, absolutely. Even just playing a game, having a chat with someone different, learning a simple new task, it all provides stimulation. And social interaction is key, not just for mental exercise, but also to combat loneliness, which can really impact brain health.
That's important.
And it's fascinating. Our neurons technically start aging in our 20s, but things like intellectual activity, curiosity, that desire to learn, they can really slow that process down.
So what are the key mental anti-aging strategies the book suggests?
It boils down to a few things. Dealing with new situations, learning something daily, even small things, playing games, and interacting with others.
And mindset.
Crucial. A positive outlook seems to amplify the benefits of all these things.
Okay. Now, something we all grapple with, stress. We live in such a fast-paced world. How does the book frame the body's stress response?
It explains it as basically a natural reaction, Our bodies interpret certain information, a looming deadline, a sudden noise, whatever, as a potential threat or problem. Evolutionarily, this fight or flight was essential for surviving immediate dangers.
So stress itself isn't inherently bad.
In short bursts, for survival, no. It was vital. The process starts in the brain when it perceives a threat. This triggers the pituitary gland, which releases a hormone called corticotropin.
Okay.
That hormone signals the sympathetic nervous system, and then the adrenal glands jump into action, releasing adrenaline and cortisol.
Right. The classic stress hormones. What do they actually do?
Adrenaline gives you that immediate jolt, heart races, breathing quickens, muscles tense up, ready for action. Cortisol is a bit different. It helps sharpen focus by increasing dopamine and also releases blood glucose for energy to face the challenge.
A very effective system for, say, escaping a predator.
Exactly.
But how does that compare to the stress we feel checking our emails constantly?
And that's the crucial difference. Our ancestors probably had long periods of calm, punctuated by intense, short-lived stress. Their bodies could handle those spikes.
But we're often dealing with chronic, lower-level stress.
Yes. Constant notifications, work pressure, information overload. Our brains can start reacting to a phone ping almost like it's a real threat. The problem is, being bathed in cortisol and adrenaline all the time, unlike those short bursts, is tough on the body. It can lead to health issues.
So what's the antidote? The book mentions mindfulness.
Mindfulness is presented as a really powerful technique. The core idea is developing self-awareness, noticing your thoughts, feelings, physical sensations in the present moment, but without judging them.
Just observing.
Kind of. It helps you see your automatic reactions to stress and gives you a chance to choose a different response, rather than just running on autopilot. Roberto Alcibar, who switched from a high-stress job to teaching mindfulness, calls it exactly that, turning off autopilot.
How do we actually practice mindfulness? It sounds a bit abstract.
The book suggests concrete things. Meditation, even just a few minutes, focused breathing exercises, mindful movement like yoga, or body scans where you pay attention to different parts of your body.
Things that ground you in the present.
Exactly. They train your attention. It takes practice, but consistently doing it can really improve focus, lower stress, and, the book suggests, potentially even contribute to longevity.
But it's not about eliminating stress entirely.
No, and that's important. Sustained high stress is harmful, yes.
Yeah.
But low levels of stress, like a challenge or a deadline, can actually be motivating and keep us engaged. It's about managing the chronic, overwhelming kind.
Okay, so mindful eating, mindful thinking. What about just plain moving? The book flags the dangers of being too sedentary.
Absolutely. A lack of physical activity is a major health risk, no matter your age. It contributes to obesity, heart problems, you name it, even in kids.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
But the good news is you don't need to become a marathon runner overnight. It's about weaving small, doable changes into your daily routine.
Like what kind of changes?
Simple stuff. Walk or bike short distances instead of driving. Try to get in at least a 20-minute walk each day. Take the stairs. Join a social club that involves some activity.
Swap the crisps for an apple?
That's a great one. Prioritize sleep. 7 to 9 hours is key. Play actively with kids or pets. Join a casual sports team. It's about becoming conscious of your habits and looking for little opportunities to move more.
Those small things add up, don't they?
They really do.
Yeah.
These little adjustments can gradually renew your body and mind and, potentially add years to your life.
It really hammers home the power of consistency. Now, a theme that keeps popping up is mindset. How crucial is a positive outlook according to the book?
Hugely important. The book really stresses the mind's influence on the body and aging. There's a strong consensus, it seems, among doctors that an active mind, which is core to ikigai and resilience in facing challenges, are vital for staying young at heart, and maybe physically too.
Resilience, yeah.
There was even a study mentioned from Yeshiva University linking longevity to a positive attitude and good emotional awareness.
Interesting. And Viktor Frankl pops up again here. His ideas about meaning.
Yes, Frankl's logotherapy is central. He believed, based on his own harrowing experiences, that purpose is essential for well-being. He talked about this healthy tension between what we've done and what we still aim to do.
A reason to get up in the morning.
Exactly. He felt a lack of purpose leads to an existential vacuum where people feel empty and might try to fill that void with, things that don't truly satisfy.
The book shares some really powerful case studies related to Frankl's work, doesn't it?
It does, really illustrative ones, like the American diplomat who hated his job and his country's policies. Through logotherapy, he realized his unhappiness wasn't just the job, but that he was fundamentally pursuing the wrong path for himself.
Wow.
And there's the technique of paradoxical intention, where you intentionally wish for the thing you fear, which can sometimes lessen the anxiety.
How does that work?
Well, the example given is a mother who was suicidal. By vividly imagining her own death and what it would mean, she recognized the unique, irreplaceable meaning her life had because of her children. It shifted her perspective entirely.
That's intense.
And also the story of the grieving doctor who lost his wife. He found meaning in his survival by realizing he'd spared her the suffering of watching him die had it been the other way around.
These stories really drive home how powerful finding meaning can be, even in awful circumstances.
Absolutely. Our internal perspective really shapes our reality and our resilience.
Okay, moving to some other Japanese concepts, Morita therapy and Naikan meditation. What are these about?
They offer different perspectives on managing our inner world. Morita therapy is interesting because it doesn't focus on changing your feelings directly.
Oh, how so?
It emphasizes accepting feelings, anger, sadness, whatever, as natural, like changes in the weather. They come and go. The focus is on your actions, doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel.
So action over feeling.
In a way. And doing it for its own sake, not just for recognition. It's about gradually re-engaging with life purposefully.
And Naikan meditation.
Naikan is more about self-reflection, specifically on relationships. You ask yourself 3 questions about someone. What have I received from this person? What have I given them? What troubles have I caused them?
That sounds like it could build a lot of gratitude and empathy.
Exactly. It highlights our interconnectedness. Both Morita and Naikan, in their own ways, encourage acceptance of feelings, of our role in relationships, tying back to that larger theme of embracing imperfections as part of life and growth.
Okay, now for a concept I think many people find really appealing, flow. The book uses skiing as an analogy. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, the skiing analogy is great. It's that feeling of being totally absorbed, completely focused on what you're doing, where time just seems to vanish. You're in the zone.
We've all felt that, hopefully.
Hopefully. The book argues that achieving this state of flow is a key part of living your ikigai, of having what's called an optimal experience. It's about deep engagement, not just fleeting pleasure.
So, like, the difference between getting lost in painting versus mindlessly scrolling social media.
Exactly. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the psychologist who researched flow extensively, found it's universal. People across cultures and ages experience it in all sorts of activities, playing music, coding, gardening, surgery.
When you're really challenged, but also skilled.
Right. When you're in flow, your mind is locked onto the task, distractions disappear, there's this sense of clarity and control.
What helps us get into that state? Are there specific conditions?
Researcher Owen Schaefer identified 7 key things. Knowing what to do, knowing how to do it, getting immediate feedback on your progress, having a clear goal or direction.
Okay.
Perceiving the challenges as significant but manageable with your skills, that sweet spot you mentioned, and crucially, being free from distractions.
That last one feels like the hardest these days.
It really can be, which is why the book offers strategies. One is picking tasks that stretch you a bit, just outside your comfort zone, so you're not bored, but also not overwhelmed.
Makes sense.
Having a clear objective helps too. But interestingly, once you start the activity, the advice is to let go of obsessing over the outcome and just focus on the process.
Like an athlete focusing on their technique, not just winning the medal.
Precisely. And managing distractions is huge. Creating a dedicated space, controlling your environment, maybe putting the phone away.
Turning off notifications?
Definitely. The book even mentions studies showing multitasking actually makes it harder to focus deeply on one thing. Grouping similar tasks or batching routine chores can also help create pockets for potential flow.
The book gives some great Japanese examples of flow, like takumis.
Yes. Takumis are master artisans or craftspeople who show incredible dedication and absorption in their work. Engineers, chefs, artists.
And even otakus, people really into hobbies like anime.
Right. What connects them is that intense focus, that commitment. It embodies ganburu, that spirit of perseverance and putting in the effort.
And it's not just high-level artisans, is it?
No, the book shows it can be found everywhere. Elderly farmers tending rice fields, even a convenience store worker taking pride in their job. There's a great story about a takumi who makes makeup brushes, focusing purely on inserting bristles perfectly. Incredible focus.
Wow, it connects to Steve Jobs' admiration for Japanese craftsmanship too, that idea of sophisticated simplicity.
Yeah, that relentless attention to detail often comes from pursuing one's ikigai. And Jiro dreams of sushi, That documentary is a perfect illustration.
Oh, amazing film.
Jiro lives and breathes sushi. His whole life is dedicated to perfecting it, and you see the joy he gets from the process itself. He becomes one with his craft, almost like the potter Yukio Shakunaga mentioned, who feels connected to the clay. It touches on Shinto ideas about spirits in nature.
And artists like Murakami creating specific spaces for flow.
Exactly, protecting that focused time and environment.
I also like the idea of microflow, finding flow in everyday tasks.
Yes. That's finding enjoyment even in mundane things, like the enthusiastic elevator operator in Tokyo. By treating routine tasks as little rituals, bringing intention to them, you can find moments of engagement.
So the takeaway is the happiest people find ways to experience flow more often.
That seems to be the conclusions.
Yeah.
The book really encourages you to think about, when do you experience flow? What are those activities? And what do they have in common? Identifying that is key.
That's a great exercise. Now, shifting to some real-life inspiration, the lessons from centenarians, what wisdom did the book share from these incredibly long-lived people?
Oh, some amazing stories. Zalakawa, who lived to 117, talked about enjoying everything past, present, future, keeping up passions like dancing, and her simple secret, not eating much meat.
117. And Jane Comment, the oldest ever.
122. Known for her humor. Apparently, even when nearly blind and deaf, she'd say everything's fine. She biked until she was 100, lived alone till 110, quit smoking at 120.
Incredible. What about Walter Bruning?
Lived to 114. His advice was, keep your mind and body busy, eat moderately, just 2 meals a day, and work as long as you can.
There's that theme again. Staying active and engaged. The Ikigai artist concept really highlights this, right? Passion keeping people going.
Definitely. People like the artist Hokusai, who felt he was just getting started in his 70s, or T.H. White's quote about how learning is something that never fails you.
Yeah.
Naturalist E.O. Wilson tackling big questions late in life, artist Ellsworth Kelly finding more clarity with age, architect Frank Gehry embracing the long timelines of creative work. And it's all about staying curious, staying involved.
The book also zoomed in on Ogimi in Okinawa, the village of longevity. What makes that community special?
Community seems absolutely central there. They have these things called moai, tight-knit groups of friends who support each other throughout life, socially, emotionally, even financially sometimes.
Like a built-in support system.
Exactly. Volunteer work is common. There's a strong sense of belonging. One resident said social connection and just enjoying life were even more vital than diet. They have vibrant community centers.
Sounds lovely.
The book describes birthday parties for people in their 80s and 90s who are still active, laughing, celebrating together. They also talk about mabui, a sort of life force or spirit connected to well-being.
Did the Ogimi centenarians offer specific tips?
Lots of practical wisdom. Keep your fingers busy with crafts or gardening. Wake up early, do some light exercise, eat a variety of foods, but not too much. Stay active, maybe through work you enjoy.
That's familiar.
Right. Do lots of different things, but don't get stressed. Have a good sleep routine. Walk every day. Live peacefully. Enjoy the little things, friends, nature, the seasons. Be optimistic. Get along with people.
It's a whole lifestyle, really. Mind, body, community.
A truly holistic picture.
So the book then circles back to reinforce some of those healthy habits.
Yeah, it revisits things like hara hachibu, stop eating when you're 80% full, maybe skip dessert sometimes, or just take smaller portions.
And the Japanese way of serving food.
On lots of small plates.
Yep.
It encourages mindful eating, makes it harder to unconsciously overeat. Also, the benefits of green tea and white tea antioxidants.
Right.
Plus, a list of antioxidant-rich Western foods, fruits, veggies, oily fish, berries, nuts, olive oil, even a little red wine. And again, the warning about sitting too much. Even short breaks help your metabolism.
And those Eastern practices. Yoga, Qigong.
Yes, things like the sun salutation in yoga or specific Qigong movements like the Earth Posture Series and Shiatsu massage. They all combine mindful movement and breath to balance body and mind.
Okay, life isn't always smooth sailing, though. We hit bumps. How does the book talk about resilience and this idea of wabi-sabi?
Resilience is framed as that ability to keep going after setbacks, stay focused on your ikigai, and manage negative feelings without letting them derail you. There's that great Japanese proverb, Nana Kurobi Yaoki, fall 7 times, rise 8.
I love that.
The book draws parallels with Buddhism finding a middle way, not being enslaved by pleasures and stoicism.
Stoicism, how does that fit in?
The Stoics taught enjoying things but not being dependent on them, being prepared for loss, and actively working to reduce negative emotions like anger or grief. They aimed for apatheia, inner peace.
How do they suggest doing that?
One technique was negative visualization. imagining bad things happening to appreciate what you have now. And the core idea, focus on what you can control, your reactions, your choices, and accept what you can't. Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters.
That's powerful. And meditation's role.
In Zen Buddhism, meditation helps you observe thoughts and feelings, including difficult ones, without getting swept away, just noticing them arise and pass.
Right.
The mantra, Almant Bohe Padme, is mentioned as a tool for purification.
So acceptance seems key, which brings us to wabi-sabi.
Exactly. Wabi-sabi is this Japanese aesthetic, this worldview that finds beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete.
Like a cracked teacup being more interesting than a perfect one.
Precisely. It values asymmetry, roughness, the signs of age and wear, because they reflect nature and the passage of time. It contrasts with the Western obsession with perfection and permanence.
And ichigo-ichi.
That means this moment exists only now and won't come again. It emphasizes that every encounter, every moment is unique and precious. Be present for it.
So appreciating the imperfect present.
Yes, like the grand shrine of eyes being rebuilt every 20 years, embracing impermanence. Wabi-sabi and ichigo-ichi both encourage us to appreciate the now, flaws and all, while pursuing our ikigai.
Okay, finally, the book introduces something beyond resilience. Anti-fragility. What's that about?
Anti-fragility is a concept from Nassim Nicholas Taleb. It's about things that don't just resist shocks, that's robustness, or bounce back from them, resilience, but actually get stronger from being stressed or harmed up to a point.
Stronger because of hardship, like the Hydra myth.
Exactly. Cut off one head, two grow back. The book suggests we can cultivate this in our own lives. How? 3 main ways.
Okay, how do we do that?
First, create redundancies. Don't rely on just one job, one main group of friends, one major hobby. Diversify. Have multiple income streams, varied interests, different social circles, like the Ogimi seniors often having several roles. If one thing fails, you're not wiped out.
Makes sense. Spread the risk. What's second?
Bet conservatively in some areas, take lots of small risks in others. Protect your core assets, but experiment with many small ventures or ideas where the potential upside is big, but the downside is limited if one fails.
Okay, and the third?
Get rid of things that make you fragile. This means actively identifying and removing stuff, toxic relationships, unhealthy habits, obligations you hate that drain your energy and bring no joy, pruning the things that weaken you.
So anti-fragility lets you grow from setbacks.
That's the idea. You become more robust, more refined, better able to stay focused on your ikigai even when things go wrong.
This has been incredibly rich. To wrap things up, the epilogue mentions Mitsuo Aida, a calligrapher and poet. How does his work tie in?
Aida really lived his ikigai through his art. His calligraphy and simple haiku poems often reflect on themes we've discussed. The importance of the present, finding happiness within, perseverance.
Can you share an example?
Sure. One says, in the here and now, the only thing in my life is your life, stressing presence. Another's just here now. He also wrote, happiness is always determined by your heart, and keep going, don't change your path. Simple but profound.
Beautiful. And finally, the book helpfully sums it all up with the 10 rules of Ikigai. Could you list those for us as takeaways?
Absolutely. They're a great summary. 1, stay active, don't retire. 2, take it slow, resist the rush.
3, don't fill your stomach. Stick to that 80% rule. 4, surround yourself with good friends.
5, get in shape for your next birthday. Move daily. 6, smile. It changes your mood and others.
7, reconnect with nature. 8, give thanks. Practice gratitude.
9, live in the moment. Ichigo-ichi. And 10, the most important, follow your ikigai.
That's a fantastic roadmap. So as we close out this deep dive, what's a final thought for our listeners?
I just encourage everyone listening to really think about what brings you meaning, what gets you into that state of flow. Nurturing your ikigai isn't a one-off task. It's something you cultivate daily through these kinds of principles. It's about enriching your life with purpose and finding that happy engagement in the everyday. So maybe take some time to reflect on your own path and see where these ideas might lead you.